Hi, my name is Nelia Rath. I have been an active critical skills classroom teacher for about the last 10 years and an institute instructor during that time as well. And I wanted to talk to you today about the decision-making styles inventory. It's an activity that I use a lot, both with my students and with the adults that I work with. It's similar to other personality style assessments, but it really focuses on who we as individuals are in groups and how we are inclined to make decisions and think and strategize when we work in groups. I find that it's a really good tool for community maintenance, maybe about halfway or 3/4 through the year, or after you've done some real work getting to know each other and your typical styles of working in a group. But it also can be a helpful tool for debriefing specific activities or for planning how you're going to embark on a certain activity as a group. So the process for doing the decision-making styles inventory begins with the group taking a quiz. And I'm going to share a little bit of what that quiz looks like with you. Here's just two examples of some questions that are on the quiz. There's about 15 questions. So in a group setting, my best contribution is often my ability to work hard to do things right, offer creative ideas, communicate well with others, or use common sense. And so you would check which answer is most like you. When people criticize me, they tend to say that I am too inconsistent, sensitive, impatient, or authoritarian. I find that my middle school students need about 15 minutes to take that quiz, maybe longer. And as they bring to an end, they'll score themselves and then find out whether they are mostly an ideas person, a people person, a process person, or a product person. And there are materials included in the packet that help you understand more about what those different tendencies mean for you and for the people you work with. You can learn more about what those different kinds of people value in process, what yes and no mean to those different kinds of people. That's my favorite part of this activity. And an ideas person is inclined to say yes often, even if they don't really mean it. A process person is going to be very intentional about when they say yes and when they say no. You also can get some great information about how to communicate with people who have a different inclination from you, whether they're an ideas, people, process, or product person, how to be a leader to those different kinds of people. After spending some time with the quiz and making sense of who we are as individuals through those materials, I like to circle up and debrief just the experience of taking that quiz and finding out what kind of person you are with some questions like this. Do you agree with where you are? I like to get the group to circle up, sitting the people with the people, the process people together, the product people together, and the ideas people together. So do you agree with where you are and where others are? Because you've already gotten to know them. And usually there's a lot of nods and ahas as people look to who's sitting next to them and who's sitting across from them. What are the strengths and limitations of your style? Of course, there are some of both. What are the negative extremes of each style? So what are the hardest traits about working with an ideas person? They really aren't productive. They don't move forward. What are the extremes of each of these situations that we might see in our groups? And I bet if you've been working with this group for a while, they can name some specific examples that they've already observed in their time together. Where do you see connections in your life outside of the classroom or outside of this particular group that you're working with? Do you have this in other professional work that you do? Do you see these things emerging in your family life at home, in your relationships with people outside of work? Which style is most helpful to a team? Of course, they're all equally helpful, but that conversation can be a really good one to have. Which styles might conflict the most? Of course, they're all going to conflict in some way or another, but illustrating those and bringing them to light can be a really good conversation for the group to have. Moving on from that initial activity, you might find uses for this work with your group later on and in a typical critical skills classroom when you're debriefing a specific activity. If you've just done a group team building activity of some kind, or if you've just worked on a really hard academic or scenario problem, you can debrief that activity using these decision-making styles with a tool like this one. Excuse me while I share my screen. So a document like this could be one that you share with individuals to do some reflection or share with partners or small groups, or it could be the kind of thing that you put on a board or a chart pack in front of everybody and work on as a group. But because we know having all of these different kinds of lenses in an activity are important, we want to be sure that we give time to thinking about each of these strategies and lenses when we're thinking about how we get through an activity. Similarly, you can use a tool like this when you're embarking on a new challenge or a new problem in a group, and make sure that you're planning according to the ideas that people are going to have and the people who are going to be focused on ideas, the people who are going to be involved in the process and what you need and want from each of them, the process that you're going to take, and the quality of the product that you're going to come up with. So again, once you know a little bit about decision-making styles, you can use those tools in your planning or your debriefing of an activity. Of course, these print materials are things that you're going to want to have, and there is a link to a whole PDF packet that includes them. And I hope you really enjoy it and learn something about yourself and about the groups that you're working with. Happy teaching.